if you want to call us an underdog, go ahead. We'll use that energy.
We're going to need to bring our best game, the best time of the year.
We're going to give it our all. See what happens.
He was moving and shooting. He scores! Mark Scheifele with a wrist shot. It's a power play goal. What a beauty played by Winnipeg.
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
Well, that went about as expected, I would think. A Winnipeg Jets sweep of the first round of the Edmonton Oilers. You're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Joined here, as always, by Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, who's currently rubbing his eyes because he's very tired. And Jamie tired. Thomas from 680 CJOB. Guys, we were all at the rink till, the witching hours, I would call them, on, what was that, Monday night. How are you all feeling after that marathon triple overtime?
Well, I'm still rubbing my eyes, so clearly it was, I don't know, like Tuesday for me. But I think I got home. I live just outside the city, so I was home. I think it was shortly after 3-ish. And it was one of those battles mentally where it's like, okay, do you sleep in and then waste kind of the first day off in a long time, like waste half the day, or do you try to get up? So I tried to get up at about 9:30, but I don't think I was in any way effective as a human till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and I didn't even play, so you can imagine what it was like for the guys.
Yeah, Jamie, how about you?
I don't know. I don't know how those guys felt, but I felt like a truck had hit me, and my dog got up at 6, so I had like maybe 4 hours sleep. So it was, I just can't believe the way it all turned out. That's the part at least you wake up and the team you're covering has won instead of you wake up and they're done for the season. So it was, I think the way things turned out made it all right getting up, whatever it was, Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, I got home at 4 a.m, and right before I got home, I looked to the east for whatever reason, and the sun was coming up. I'm like, oh, this is a new one. Okay.
Time to start a new day.
I need to get to bed. So that was a bit of a mental block I had. Anyway, moving into the hockey side of things, Mitchell, we've had some time to digest what we saw in the first round against the Edmonton Oilers. There are many different ways we could go. The general consensus, and I think everybody agrees on this, obviously it was a sweep, but it was close. I mean, there were 3 overtime games, but, there are just small things that make a difference. So can you pinpoint 1 or 2 of those things that, that you saw that allowed the Jets to have the success and move on to the second round?
Well, one of them I would say was the exact commitment that the team and Paul Maurice had talked so much about leading up to the series, which was limiting those rush chances against. And you think about how much of a priority that was for the Winnipeg Jets, and the fact the Oilers, specifically Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, were still able to generate some rush chances and be able to score off one of them that I remember for sure in game 3, I think it was. So like, listen, like this, no matter how much of a priority. And I think that it's the exact definition of the fact that, the players said they're going to get their chances. They're going to get their chances no matter what you do to them. And they still generated chances, which is exactly what they said. So limiting those opportunities was absolutely massive. And then the Jets also got some offense from a number of different spots. In the lineup. I mean, game 1 was seemingly all about the depth guys stepping up big, which you need in the postseason. And then as the series went on, I mean, game 4, Mark Scheifele was an absolute beast. I mean, and then I think he was a great player for the Jets throughout the series, but then he finally got the goals to be rewarded and obviously scored a couple of big ones for the Jets in game 4. And then Kyle Connor, the guy that gets the triple overtime winner. I mean, the Jets had offense and contributions from a number of different spots. And then, I mean, of course, in the crease, Connor Hellebuck was fantastic. I mean, posting, I think he's in and around like a 950 or something save percentage after that series, which
is that, I mean,
good? You get that. I'd say that's pretty good. Higher than anything I ever got on any sort of test in schools. So
that is a lie. He's lying. He was really good at the textiles class.
Yes. Yeah. So I just think they got a number of contributions from a bunch of different places. But if I had to point to goaltending, I think on both sides was really good. But if I had to point to one thing, it's that the Jets limited as much as they could those rush chances, and then, got some big contributions at the other end of the ice from a number of players in the lineup.
Jamie, Mitch sort of touched on it early in his answer about limiting the rush chances. But let's focus in on the defending aspect as a whole. Just what did you see from the Winnipeg Jets on the defensive side of the puck that allowed them to keep Edmonton at bay, and especially McDavid and Draisaitl?
Yeah, during the regular season, you saw Neil Pionk and Derek Forbort get that assignment to try and shut down Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And I think game one, you saw Neil Pionk get underneath the skin of Connor McDavid. There was some frustrated moments. Pionk was constantly in the face of Draisaitl. I think Derek Forbort probably played his best games as a member of the Winnipeg Jets, and that's saying a lot. He must have done something to recover, because he looked tired towards the end of the regular season. Looked like there had been a lot of miles on the tires there and blocked a lot of shots. So the break must have been refreshing for him. So he was great. And then Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello, who had, played together in the bubble last year in the qualifying round and didn't start the year together. And then as time goes by, they get reunited, and man, they were tremendous. They were on every puck. They moved the puck so well together. Almost that chemistry kicked in that they had last year. And they were paramount to shutting down the top players of the Edmonton Oilers, killing penalties. And then Josh Morrissey's offensive side of his game came in there too, but that's for another time. But you look at what Logan Stanley and Tucker Poolman did. Logan Stanley was tremendous again. Tucker Poolman played some of his best hockey last year in the bubble, so kind of that earned that opportunity. So defending wise, the Jets were really good. Everything was out to the outside. They took away the middle of the ice from the Edmonton Oilers. So incredible amounts of defending. And then of course, anytime Edmonton penetrated, there was Connor Hellebuck. So there's just a lot to say how well the Jets defended. And a big part of that, on top of that, I shouldn't leave this out, is the amount of offense that Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, and Blake Wheeler gave up in games 1 and 2. And were finally rewarded for that defense first mentality in those first 2 games.
Mitchell, there seems to be a real maturity about this group. And I think that was on display, especially after the second and the third game, especially, where that's a crazy 4-1 comeback. And it's hard not to get caught up in the moment. But, in the media room after, Blake Wheeler was like, yep, it was a fun game. Yeah, that was crazy, but we still have work to do. And we got to close this out. And it just, and I think Andrew Kopp also mentioned it too earlier in the series that, back in 17-18, every time they won a game, it felt like they were going to hoist the trophy. And every time they lost, it was going to be the worst thing in the world. So just what can you say about how the maturity of this group has accentuated, and then just how important is that?
It really seemed to go back to the regular season, to be honest with you, because it just seemed from the outset that there was this calm around the group, that no matter how big the win was or how tough the loss was, and they had some tough losses. I mean, just look at the Edmonton Oilers. They scored with less than a second, or maybe even like a tenth of a second left in the regular season to beat the Jets in one game. And it was just like, yeah, that sucked, but we're on to the next one kind of deal. And that's just, they've had that mentality throughout the entire regular season. And I think it's been helpful in the playoffs because, as Andrew Kopp said, the playoffs can really be a roller coaster, and you're going to go through a lot of these emotions. And, to have the game like in game 3, where you come all the way back and you win in overtime, and it's just this crazy comeback that's only been seen now 10 times in the National Hockey League's history. And then to come into the media room afterwards and be like, yeah, we still got a long way to go in this series. We got to, I think keeping themselves even keel might be just as important for keeping, their mindset and their energy levels at the right point. Because, if you're worrying about the worst thing that could happen, or thinking about the best thing that could happen, as much as that positive type of imagery can be helpful, it can also be a little bit taxing when you're going through these best and worst case scenarios. So I think that's also part of it. And then, like you said, it's maturity of the group. I mean, they've all kind of been around this postseason experience for a while. Obviously, Trevor Lewis has a couple of cups. These are all really important things and lessons that the Jets have on their side. And I think were really important in the series, and being able to keep that even keel, no matter how closer and closer they got to eventually sweeping the Edmonton Oilers. They knew that, it's just because they're up 3-0 doesn't mean the series is over. And, they were able to go out and finish it in game 4. And I think a lot of it can be attested to the fact that they didn't get caught up in the fact that, things were going super well and they were already looking ahead.
Jamie, Josh Morrissey is our guest this week, and we'll hear from him in a second. But maybe just a thought on what he was able to do in the first round that allowed him to have success. Obviously, he was a major piece in that 3-1 or 4-1 comeback, scoring that tying goal.
Yeah, I think, I remember in 2018, Paul Maurice talking about how Josh Morrissey had this offensive side of his game that we hadn't seen yet because we didn't see it because he doesn't get that goal in the power play because they had Dustin Byfuglien and Jacob Trouba. And Josh Morrissey's primary responsibility was playing with Jacob Trouba as the team shutdown pair. So you hear about all this offensive side to his game. And then eventually this year and a little bit last year, he gets some power play time and he gets a little bit more comfortable with that, and he really flexed his offensive muscles in game 3. That pump fake with the stick that had Jesse Puljujärvi go blow by him, allow him to get the shot off to tie the game, and then taking a nice pass from Adam Lowry, and then that good low shot that allowed the rebound to come out to Blake Wheeler too to make for the 4-3 goal. It just says a lot about how he does have that offensive side to his game. So, and that on top of shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl and playing heavy minutes throughout this series and 3 consecutive overtimes, just maturity beyond his years. And maybe that first year under that new contract was weighing on him, and Paul Maurice touched on that. I think this year he's not thinking about it as much, and his game has progressed because of it.
Well, as promised, you can hear from Josh Morrissey here on Ground Control in the interview coming up next. And just one note, I was thinking about this afterwards. If I had to guess, I would think that Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello may be the most articulate defense pairing in the National Hockey League. Both men can speak very well. So enjoy this interview with Josh. It's about 17 minutes. He was very gracious with this time.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
Hi, this is Josh Morrissey, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
Joined here by Josh Morrissey here on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Josh, you've had a little over a day to recover from the triple overtime game. How's the body feeling? Where are you at? I mean, you played a team-high 41 minutes, nearly 42 minutes, actually. Just how are you feeling immediately after the game?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, it feels better since we won the series. Body definitely feels better as a result of that. But, I think sort of through... it was hard to get to sleep after the game, just so much adrenaline, and yesterday I think that sort of adrenaline kept going actually, and felt pretty fine throughout the day, but actually had a good sleep last night, and today I feel pretty tired, so nice to have another day off the ice and be able to rest a little bit and get ready for some practices coming up before we start our next series.
Whether it was, yesterday just sitting at home or today, like, is there sort of just a feeling of like, holy crap, we pulled that off kind of thing?
Yeah, I think in some ways, a lot of it hasn't set in yet. A part of it is when you're able to sweep a team, and especially as the underdog, and, play as well as we did as a group, and sort of accomplish, 3 overtime games in a row. I mean, there was a lot there that's pretty special, but I think, like I said, it really hasn't. A lot of that hasn't set in yet. I kind of remember looking back on our playoff run a few years ago to the conference final. That didn't really set in for me until after the fact of just how special some of those individual games were. Because I think once you're in the playoffs, you kind of ride the high of ride the wave and ride the high of the playoffs, and you obviously have to move on to the next game, the next series. But it was pretty special, and I'm still having a hard time catching up to all the emails and texts that I got from friends and family, and it probably doesn't help that I'm from Calgary and most of my friends are Flames fans, and they hate the Oilers, so getting a lot of texts from those people about us winning that one. So definitely pretty special.
You mentioned the run in 17-18. how does it feel like just to have some recent success? I feel like a lot of the talk the last 2 or 3 years is like, oh, we think back to 2018 run. And I know we're only one round into this year, but just what does it mean to just have something a little bit more recent that we can sort of put 17, 18 in the past and focus on the now and celebrate what we're doing right now?
It's outstanding. I think I'm almost tired of sort of going back to that year and that run and the team we had or the players we had then. Obviously we've had, changes like every team has in our personnel. And I think that can be sometimes just what happens when you go on a long run or, a team, makes it far into the playoffs. You kind of revert back to those seasons because obviously you did something right and there was some success. But, it's great to win our first series since that playoff run and feel the emotion that is, winning a playoff series and in the fashion that we did. And as the underdogs, I think, there's a lot there to, sort of protect in terms of the job and what we were able to accomplish. So obviously it's one round of the playoffs. We have much bigger aspirations than, just winning a first round series, but it's focusing on the task at hand and having that confidence as well, knowing that we just went in and played a very good game, 4 games in a row, and sort of won in a couple different ways and won overtime games, and we should have a lot of confidence as a group going into our next series, we'll be ready to go.
It was, obviously it seemed like the general consensus was that it was, obviously it was a sweep, but it was really tight. For you, what do you think the differences were that allowed you guys to get the results that you wanted?
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, you lose or you win 3 games in a row in overtime. I remember thinking back to, I was on the other side of something like that when I was in St. John's. In the league finals, we lost 3 games in a row in overtime to lose this series. And, from being on both sides of that kind of a situation, we really felt like at that time we played a game that was good enough to win that series and got some bad breaks, some bad bounces. Being on the other side here and being the team that won, the 3 overtime games in a row, I think, it's the little things, it's small differences in games, it's momentum swings, it's maybe a big save or somebody stepping up with a big goal. But I think throughout the games, and obviously when you're winning, it's easier to have confidence. But we just kept believing in our game plan and in what we were doing, and I think we got a tremendous amount of sacrifice from top to bottom, thinking about Blake Wheeler's shot block at the end of game 4, all kinds of guys stepping up, blocking shots and playing the game the right way in a playoff atmosphere. And so I think it was just those little things, and I think we played a playoff style of game that gives you an opportunity to win, and got great goaltending as well. So obviously we found a way to win those games, and we're going to keep that confidence that comes with doing that.
When you're in that triple overtime and even, the second overtime period, what's it like on the ice? I mean, it looked like you guys were gassed, people are reaching for pucks. Just what's it like to play in a situation like that? Obviously you played the most minutes, so just what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't been to a triple overtime in my career yet. I think the longest was double overtime, in a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's I almost forgot afterwards that it was a back-to-back, and so that even makes it crazier to think about, and to think about the fact that it's a back-to-back, and the first game of the back-to-back was an overtime game as well, and I think that marked 3 straight overtime games and 4 games in 6 days, 3 and 4. So when you start looking at the math of just how much hockey that was in a short time, it was pretty insane. But I think both teams are going through the same thing. Obviously it's not like the regular season where, you know, you might be in a tough portion of your schedule and you're playing a team that is fresh. You know, both teams are battling through the same things, and you know, it's sort of about trying to mentally prepare yourself to, you know, feel as though you're going to, you know, you're committed to being able to go longer, or, you know, play harder, or you know, finish that one more check or block that shot or give that little more extra effort than, you know, the player across from you is. And you know, trying to keep that mentality. Obviously it's hydration, it's, you know, doing all the little things you can in between periods, you know, whatever snacks you want to have, the gels, the fruit, and even in the overtimes they bring out some candy and stuff just for some quick energy.
Yep.
It's really just about doing whatever you can, and but when you get into that third overtime, it's certainly, it was put it this way, I was happy to see KC score, and of course us be able to win the series, move on, not have to go back to Edmonton for a Game 5 a couple days later, which, you know, would have been a whole nother conversation in trying to prepare after that type of a game. And, you know, obviously just get some rest. So it was great to see that go in, but it was just an outstanding effort by everyone on our team and commitment to staying in the battle as long as we did.
A lot of the talk has been, you know, what McDavid and Draisaitl weren't able to do, but I mean, you guys were able to shut them down, you know, for the most part of that series. Just what can you say of the work that your team did as a whole defensively to keep those two at bay?
Yeah, I mean, you know, those two guys are unbelievable players. You know, Connor's the best player in the world, and I think Leon is, I mean, he's right there in that conversation of who's the second best guy. And yeah, I've had the opportunity to play with both of those guys, and so I really have an appreciation of how good they are. And of course, when you look at their season, it speaks for itself. So, you know, that was definitely something that we knew if we didn't control those guys to some extent, and we didn't, you know, limit them to some degree, we would be in trouble. And I thought as a team we did a really good job of, you know, committing to team defense. You know, our forwards were always working back hard for us so we could have a good gap, and you know, limited odd man rushes against, which they're so lethal at producing off of, and, you know, limiting turnovers at the offensive blue line and through the neutral zone that, like I said, again, they transition so well against. We got great goaltending, and I think our defense core as a whole did a great job of competing and battling hard, and you know, just really going to an extra level of effort to you know, defend. And I think a lot of times, you know, that extra effort level is the difference between, you know, getting us, you know, half of your stick on a puck, or, you know, missing it by you know, what could be you know, an inch, and all of a sudden that's in the back of your net. So that extra effort level that we had was key, I think, for us in our success, and, you know, limiting some of their ability to produce in that series.
You've clearly raised your game here in the first 4 games of the playoffs. You're paired alongside with Dylan. Just what's that pairing been like, and how would you say your game has progressed through these first 4 games?
Yeah, I think as a pairing, you know, I thought we had a very good series. You know, I think Mel raised his game to another level. He was very, you know, that extra effort level, I think was something we both talked about, was just, you know, competing and going to a you know, another level of effort. And you know, his stick was great. He was physical in the series. He's a very easy guy to play with. His routes are very consistent. You know, he's always talking. I think, you know, we're not afraid to sort of talk to one another about, hey, I think we should have done that, or hey, you know, next time look for something different. You know, there's no awkwardness there or anything like that. It's you know, we're here to be the best that we can, and individually and as a pairing, and you know, we want to work together to do that. So I thought as a pairing, and Mel's game in particular was just outstanding. And I think on an individual level for me, you know, I wanted to try to raise my game in playoff hockey, and continue to go to another level. And I really view the playoffs and, in that particular series, an opportunity to go up against, the best offensive players and the best offensive duo in the world. And, try to see what I could do defensively against them and help my team in that way, because I felt like that was the best way I could help our team, have success. And, certainly I enjoyed that opportunity. And, I think the combination of Mel raising his game and me raising my game, and together our pairing, raising our game collectively, really, was fun. And we're going to have to continue to do that here as the playoffs roll along.
You scored the big goal to tie things up in Game 3. I don't care about the goal. What was the celly all about? It was pretty awesome. There was a good wrist flip. I'm not quite sure what was going on, but take me through that.
Yeah, I just blacked out there, to be honest. If you look at most of my goals over the years, if they're, especially I guess when there were fans in the building, I kind of always did the same thing. And I think that one was just a little, even more exaggerated given the moment and the hype of the situation, and the fact that we had just scored 3 goals in three minutes and change. That was just intensity and excitement and elation all at the same time. And like I said, once I saw it go in, I just really blacked out until I think I got through the flyby at the bench, and then I took my first breath. So it was a lot of fun.
That moment to me really sticks out in terms of just noticing just how much we miss the fans. Just what's it been like to play in the building with no fans. And I mean, we're sitting in the building right now. I mean, it looks awesome. I mean, just what can you say of the job that the rink has done to, make it look playoff-like?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's no replacement for the fans, and the whiteout here in Winnipeg. It's an experience like no other in terms of playoff hockey, and it's really just an awesome environment to play in. I think, as you said, as we're sitting here, this is actually the first time we're sitting here in the arena on the, I guess, main concourse level. So this is the first time I've been up here and sort of looked down onto the arena and from this vantage point. And yeah, it looks amazing. Certainly from ice level, it looks amazing as well. And I think the arena staff and the organization did a great job in creating a really cool environment that best, as well as we can, encapsulates the whiteout and gives us that feeling. And I think it looks great on TV as well. But I still think, I'm feeling the support of the fans, from people, coming downtown, driving downtown after the games, before the games, the honking of the horns, I said it in a different interview. I'm not sure if the residents of downtown love the late starts and the even later wins, considering the honking goes on pretty late into the night. But I certainly love that and really feel that support and from the people of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba. And it's just a lot of fun. It's what makes playing here so awesome. This fan support that we get is, second to none, and people really just sort of, it's Winnipeg Jets are ingrained in everyone here. And so it's a lot of fun driving home after the game the other day, the streets lined with cars on both sides, people cheering and all dressed up, and some pretty amazing cars setups and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. So even though we don't have fans, you still feel that support, that's for sure.
Last one for you. Obviously, we're playing the waiting game here. Not quite sure who you're going to face for round 2. Are you watching the Toronto-Montreal series? And if yes, what are you watching for?
Yeah, I've definitely been watching. I mean, even while our series was going on, of course, with the staggered game days for the most part, I've been able to see 3 of their 4 games. And, given that those were the 2 teams we played so much this season, there was an interest level there, of course, knowing that, that would be one of those 2 teams would be the team we would face if we were to move on. And now that we have moved on, we know that one of those teams we're playing. There has been definitely an interest level. Like you said, it's the waiting game. We'll see what happens in that series. But it's been good to be able to watch and see how that series has evolved and how both of those teams are playing. And once we figure out who we will be playing, we'll go through our same routine as always in preparing for that series. But it's nice to be able to watch all kinds of playoff hockey, and certainly the teams will. One of the teams will be playing.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thank you.
He was moving and shooting. He's gone.
Tune in to Jets TV Live after every home game for highlights, analysis, and all the post-game comments live. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the Winnipeg Jets mobile app.
Thanks to Josh Morrissey for giving us his time. Obviously, still recovering from that triple overtime game. The man played 42 minutes, and he deserves every second of rest that he gets before the first game of round 2. Speaking of round 2, that's where the Winnipeg Jets are headed. But at this current time, we record this on, look at my watch, Wednesday, May 26th. The days of the week don't matter anymore. It's just game day or practice day, or travel day, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, Toronto, Montreal. At the current point in time, as we record this, Toronto has a 3-1 series lead. They can end it on Thursday night, but I think the Winnipeg Jets are probably hoping for a little bit longer of a series. Mitchell, what are you looking for in that series?
In the Toronto-Montreal series, I think you're just kind of looking to see, obviously, a really unfortunate situation with the Toronto Maple Leafs in terms of their captain, John Tavares. So obviously, you hope for the best for him, but obviously that will change how their lineup looks. So that's a challenge for the Toronto coaching staff to worry about. But Andrew Kopp mentioned, so now you take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs as you're watching the game, seeing how they're changing their lineup a little bit. And for Montreal, it's Cole Caulfield. How does he exactly fit in? How are they using him? Where does he post up on the power play? Just things like that. So you're watching for those little tendencies and how each team runs their bench, how they, maybe want to do things matchup wise. But ultimately, it can be easy to look back to the regular season and be like, okay, well, this is kind of how they ran against us. And yes, that's something that you can lean on. But as we've all seen in the series that we just witnessed, the regular season, doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of results. So game plans can change. I think in a lot of the games against the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Winnipeg Jets, maybe weren't as bought in or didn't play as defensive as they do now, or seem to be as accepting of how they need to play in order to play these games in the postseason. So it'll be interesting to see, if it is Toronto that comes out with them being up 3-1, who knows how that matchup plays out. And Paul Maurice touched on Montreal as well. That's a team that even throughout this season, it's just stylistically, for some reason, it's a team that the Jets have their challenges with. So you can bet that Paul Maurice and his coaching staff are kind of working on, 2 different types of game plans, if you will, one for Toronto, one for Montreal. And yeah, ultimately, if you're the Jets, you're more than willing to watch that series go 7, I think. But ultimately, we'll find out. Either way, both teams, a whole lot of skill, a whole lot of talent, a whole lot of depth. It'll be a challenging series either way.
Jamie, the Winnipeg Jets haven't been on the ice since that triple overtime game. So they're looking to hit the ice on Thursday for practice. What do you think the team will work on as they prepare for round 2?
Well, if it ends up being Toronto, they've kind of already been working on it. It was something, when the Jets clinched their playoff spot, it almost seemed like they were bound to play. Well, they're going to play either Toronto or Edmonton. So you're prepared a lot for what the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to provide. If it is them, you've I think over this next little bit here, it's just working on the power play. I thought we saw a lot better puck movement in the Edmonton series that we had seen in a while. You look at that one seam pass Blake Wheeler got to Mark Scheifele, it was because he was moving. He wasn't stationary. So that hadn't allowed the Oilers defense to settle in and try and take the seam pass, and it worked out. So I thought working on the power play, still getting those kinks out of your legs, that you had, all that fatigue that you had in there too. So just keep doing what they've been doing. They've been fantastic working on this. They've been working on this for a long time now. So I don't think we're going to see any bells and whistles added here over the next little bit, even no matter who they're playing up against.
Pretty much no one in the pandemic has avoided Zoom internet issues. So we want to apologize for any sort of blips or lags that occurred during this episode. We are aware of it. And no, there is nothing we can do about it because we cannot be in the same room. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed the episode. You'll hear from us again prior to the second round series. Once the Winnipeg Jets find out who they're playing, we'll have wall-to-wall coverage as always on winnipegjets.com and 680 CJOB. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of myself, Tyler Esquivel, Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, and 680 CJOB's Jamie Thomas. Enjoy the next few days, everyone. There's more hockey coming your way.
This is Big Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.